Welcome, really exciting day for our Aztec nation and adding some new members to our family. Before we kind of dive into the class and the incredible job that the staff has done over the past 21 days, I need to say some thank yous. There's a lot of people that made all this happen, and the number of signees and these new members joining our team. It could not have happened without Dr. Bree over here in academics and her allowing her expertise and guiding us through this process. Rachel Rhodes doing the transcript evaluations and all things that fall under her wide-ranging umbrella in student services was absolutely phenomenal with everything that we have done. Daniel Kelly through the admissions process, everyone in our compliance office, and a huge shout out to everyone involved in facility management, to making our place here look amazing, people down at Snapdragon to showcase the things that we do have. Truly thank you. The community of San Diego, welcome to all of our guests. We were able to showcase what we have to offer. It was a complete team effort. The staff did an unbelievable job, from the on-the-field coaches to the operations staff, the recruiting department, to make all this come together, and all these great young men that we're about to discuss. Kind of just some highlights of the class. As we are right now, there's 21 total signees that are in that we can talk about. There's still more work that's going to be done. We're still closing as we move through the day in the next couple days. Half of those signees are from California, so again, keeping our guys home. 3 transfers are coming back home. Obviously, the majority of this was put together in the past 3 weeks, but we're really excited about the commits that we had on board that have decided to stay on board with us. Again, for our high school kids, where our recruiting will always start, is 11 of the signees right now are high school kids. We put a big premium on multi-sport athletes, so 6 out of the 11 are multi-sport athletes. 7 of those 11 have won some sort of Player of the Year awards for their respective leagues or positions, and we have 7 all-state, all-league, all-city performers. So again, really proud of the effort that everyone did. It was a great job, again, collectively by everyone, and really excited to brag on these guys for a little bit.
The amount of high school guys that were committed to San Diego State on the day you got hired versus who are still committed and who plan or will sign is pretty high. You spoke at your introductory press conference about prioritizing those guys, having relationships with them. What can you say about those type of guys that are still here that you liked from that group?
Yeah, and they were a great fit from who they were and getting to know their families and what makes them and how they align with us and the direction that we are going to go. And when we were able to get them to campus and spend time with them, again, it was natural, it was comfortable, they're competitive, they're hungry, they're humble dudes that are ready to work, and really excited to have a part of this thing.
We've seen, just in recruiting in general and social media, we've seen definitely more of an emphasis on social media from the coaching staff. We saw the cars on the field.
Yeah.
Why do you think that stuff is important and meaningful to some of these guys that you're recruiting?
Because every single one of them carries this in their hand, and it's a free way for us to get to them and to build that relationship and to tell our story, right? I think so much of what we need to do through this recruiting process is to educate, right, and to present who we are. So those things and the tools of social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, what have you, and then when we get the opportunity to get these families to our campus, again, to showcase the unique story that we have to tell, the unique offering that only we can give, we're going to utilize all the tools at our disposals to be able to do that.
Was there any particular symbolism of the cars on the field?
It's just San Diego, right? I mean, so the low riders and our style and our swagger and the things that make us unique that no one else can offer, we're going to highlight that, and we're going to present that every single time, every single chance that we get.
You got hired November 29th, then there's a quick time to assess your roster.
Yeah.
Can you break down a little bit what you assessed and what you felt like you needed to accomplish in this class?
Yeah, I mean, again, the biggest thing was getting to know the guys, seeing where they were at, what they loved about the program, if they became the head coach, what they would like to change, and just getting a feel for where they were, who was going to be still with us, who had other options and other decisions that were going to be made, and who was leaving. And then as those decisions were made, where were there holes? Obviously, we got to be strong along both lines, O-line, D-line. We're still working to continue to solidify that. Obviously, there were some really good players that were a part of the program that have gotten other opportunities, and I'm happy for them. And then again, as we transition, the style of play, we got to get the guys that we know on the roster are in the right position so that they can maximize their ability, and then get guys that we know can do the things that we're going to be asking them to do as well as they come in. So we're in a great place with where the locker room is. We got to continue to recruit the heck out of them, right? And then adding these guys as well through the next few days and as we get to the start of the spring semester, but happy where we are.
Sean, a question about the transfer portal. As soon as you came, players exited.
Yep.
So what's your emotion? Are you disturbed that guys would jump as early as they did? Are you upset at the situation they put your program in? So many guys, I think 21 wound up in the portal.
Yep.
I know it may be the way of doing business in college football, but you're disappointed that nobody gave you a chance to present your resume on the field in spring ball to see what this thing was going to look like?
No, I'm not disappointed at all. I don't think it would have mattered if Vince Lombardi came and sat down in that office, that those young men and their families had a decision that they felt was best for them. They did that, and that's the landscape of college football right now. This is talent acquisition in the world that we're living in. You either adapt or you die to what's going on. And so we're going to be fluid. And I appreciate the majority of those guys came in and had a conversation, did it the right way. And again, they've made some good decisions that they feel are best for them. And I wish them nothing but the best. And it allowed us to know exactly where we were, on day one, to be able to go attack and do the things that we needed to do.
Coach, talked to a lot of high school coaches, a lot of recruits, especially in the last 3 weeks. And Ryan Lindley was a name that came up a lot. Could you talk about Ryan and Coach Lindley and the job that he did, and then also is there a place for him on your staff moving forward?
Yeah, Coach Lindley, Coach Boje, Coach Sum, all did a tremendous job. Obviously, having local ties, knowing where to go, who was important, the connections that need to be made, have really helped bridge the gaps. We'll continue to bridge the gaps, and yeah, there's going to be an opportunity for Coach Lindley to stay on board as our senior analyst, and if that's what's best for him and his family, we've had that discussion. I'm really hopeful that he embraces that opportunity because he's a tremendous man and he's a tremendous value add to our organization as we move forward.
And could you talk a little bit about the DBs that you brought in? I mean, typically, the further you get away from the football, the younger guys can play.
Sure.
So you talk about Isaiah Buxton, Tate Byer, such.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So those local guys, Isaiah Buxton, Tate Byer, I mean, again, winners first and foremost, right? They've competed at a really high level and they've performed at a really high level, very productive players. And again, we're going to get them here early, which is going to be awesome. So day one, year one, winter conditioning, they're going to be able to hit it and really learn about our culture as we're building and be on even footing with everyone in the locker room and within the organization, and excited to see how they compete.
Sean, can you talk about your relationship you established with Danny O'Neill over the last year, your excitement for having him on campus?
Yeah, I mean, it's a deep, meaningful relationship, right? We go way back from when I identified him at Kent State. I knew he was going to be above our head there, right? And then got to Colorado and early offered him and built that relationship out, really got to know what was important to him and his family and, those roots and those connections that we've talked about a lot since we've been here, about how it's people and building trust. They were able to withstand a lot that has transpired and to bring him here, to have him on the Mesa with us, again, really excited, right? He'll be here in January. He's an early enrollee. And again, just like Bucks and just like Tate, he's going to have an opportunity to compete. We'll put the ball down and we'll see where things sort out.
Is his ability in the pocket, his ability to move the pocket, what is unique about him?
I think his competitive nature makes him unique. He's a very humble and hungry kid. He has a wide breadth of skills and abilities. He's not just, a pocket passer. He can move outside the pocket. He's very accurate. When you get invited to the Elite 11, you're one of the 11 best in the country. Your skill set and your mindset is pretty high.
And can you talk about the Florida State transfer?
Yeah, so A.J. Duffy, bringing him back home, originally from the Inland Empire, right? Formerly a 4-star, top 200 prospect, went to Florida State, had a good experience there where he learned and he grew. And again, he's a kid that can do everything at a really, really high level. And between those two additions to the room and the 3 quarterbacks that we have in the room, I'm looking forward to having competitive depth in that room and across the whole organization, right? To win a championship, we have to have competitive depth in each and every single room. We have to have competitive maturity to know that jobs are going to be earned and not just given through the organization. And excited for everyone to show up and compete when we get rolling here in January.
McDuffie, big-time pocket passer, or what's his style?
He's a dual threat kid as well, right? So we want to have the ability to challenge and trust the defense at every single position and every single facet, so he can hurt you with his legs, he can hurt you with his arm, and again, has a really high ceiling that we can continue to develop.
You added, obviously, those 2 quarterbacks, there's 4 quarterbacks returning. You know, do you see 6 guys competing in spring camp at that position?
Right now I do.
You added 2 tight ends in this class, both different body types, but
Yep.
can you talk about both of those guys and where the tight end generally fits in your offense?
Yeah, I mean, so that guy needs to be a transformer in what we do, right? He has to have the ability to detach and flank out. He has to have the ability to be in line. He has to bring a skill set to where he can be a route runner and a pass catcher, and he has to add value in the run game, right? So he's got to be a high football IQ guy. When our offenses have been at their best, that guy has been very multiple for us, so we can get into multiple sets, again, provide as much stress to the defense as possible by aligning and utilizing that guy's skill set in a lot of different ways without changing our personnel, so we don't have to slow down. So Art and Wolfer, are going to give us that ability from a high school standpoint, and then bringing in Gabe as well from the JUCO ranks. Again, it just provides depth to the room. It provides competitive balance to the room, and we'll see who responds the best way to go compete as we move forward.
Once we get outside the signing window, what's your strategy as far as holding back scholarships for the guys still available in the portal, either in the very near future or in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, I think roster management is a huge piece of it, right? And so as we continue to move through day in and day out, you got to be able to sit at the table and to be able to know, all right, there's another wave of players that's probably coming, right? There's going to be some late high school qualifiers as well. The only way you can sit down and have the ability to recruit those guys is that if you have spots, roster spots and scholarships that are available. So we'll be very judicious about that with the spots that we have available and the way that we can manage things. But again, this talent acquisition piece never stops. It's a day-to-day, moment-to-moment deal. And again, I think the biggest piece of it is, with these signees and with the current locker room, I'm very happy with where we are, and we have to keep that whole before we look up and out anywhere else as we move forward.
Sean, there's only 2 offensive linemen, I think, on this sheet, and with the mass defections, where are you gonna go to get numbers?
There'll be more coming in, and we'll continue to assess that as we go, right? I mean, again, we got to know and understand that just at the highest level, the big bodies are at a premium, right? And so you don't want to overreach just to get a guy. There's not any sense in just, putting a guy on because he's an O-lineman and he can't help us win. And we want guys that can help us win at a championship level. So we're going to thoroughly vet everyone out and make sure that we have the depth that we need, along the fronts, right? Like, the game's won there. I don't care what your style of play is. Like, we got to be strong along the O-line and D-line. And again, we'll continue to vet that out as we go.
Would it be reasonable to think you'd still get another half dozen guys after the spring portal opens, just because of the way things evolve?
It's probably a fair assessment, yeah.
Could you speak to the process of getting Isaiah Buxton to come here after his previous commitment?
Yeah, I mean, so, the timing and all this happening at a warp speed, don't remember exactly how it all played out, right? But he became available with his decommitment from the previous institution. And again, Coach Sum has a great relationship, with Bucks and his family from early in the recruitment process. And so when that decommitment occurred, we were able to get back in the fight and to get him on campus and build that relationship. And it probably helped having Big Mac, right, one of his high school teammates, on board already. And so again, that peer-to-peer recruitment, I mean, again, what they're able to do, our players on the current roster, the host did a fabulous job of sharing the excitement and the vision from within, right, to help get those guys when they came to campus. And then probably that one specifically with Bucks, right, just being, again, a hometown hero, wanting to stay here, wanting to share these moments with his family, and having a high school teammate that's going to enjoy the journey with him. Probably all those factors culminated to, having that come together and be at the right spot at the right time.
You mentioned when you were talking about him earlier, the fact that he had been a part of 2 state championships. How much does that matter to you, winning at the high school level over other aspects?
It matters a lot. I put a high premium on it, and something we talked about as a staff, that all things being equal, if you have, one player that isn't used to winning and not coming from a winning program, you have another player that is consistently competing for championships at a really high level. Then when they get to this level and the workload and the intensity and the expectations get ratcheted up even more, the kid who is accustomed to winning and has done the work that winning requires at the highest level where he's at, it's not going to be as steep as a transition for him as he gets to this level. So winning, as we, all the factors that go into this, we put a lot of weight on kids coming from winning programs.
last thing for me here, Will Sanfrini, I assume you saw a couple of them circus catches, even a circus dunk is somewhat in your showcase. How important was it for you to make sure he stayed locked down, and then conversely, helping you get Danny O'Neill in the building as well?
Yeah, I mean, so again, Will was one of the original commits, and as I assessed everything that this job was offering as I came in, assessing the roster, assessing the commitments, and going through that whole process was a part of it. And Will stood out not only for the spectacular plays, but all the really routine, boring, basic plays that he made, right? Because again, if a guy is only going to give us great moments occasionally, he's not going to help us win championships consistently. So his consistent play is really what stood out. And then again, like, it doesn't matter if it's any pickup game anywhere or ball at the highest level. As you see a team coming together, you kind of look at, okay, what's assembling over there and what's assembling over here, and oh, there's really good players over there. I want to go play with those guys. I mean, again, at times I think we overcomplicate this. Like, oh, there's guys jumping in over there. They're local hometown guys, and that fits, and I see a vision, and it aligns with what this new staff is saying. Okay, cool, I'm going to move that way as well because there's familiarity, there's comfort with that, and I want to be challenged in that way.
It seemed like a quick 3 weeks that you had to turn all this around, but I think I heard the previous stop, it was even less time.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere we've gone, we've done it fast, you know, so I'm grateful for the experiences that I've had. The first time I sat in the head coach's chair, I mean, I think I was getting announced on this day. So by the time the press conference was done and we wrapped it up, like, the number of players that were available was a fraction of, you know, where it was, you know, when we got here with the time that we had afforded to us. So again, I'm very grateful for, you know, JD and Moose and the administration and President De La Torre to move in the manner in which they did so we could get in place and we could do all this great work collectively together and have a chance to be competitive early on here and put this class together.
Are there any guys with COVID eligibility who could be coming back?
Yeah, there is, absolutely.
And any ones that you can mention already?
We're still kind of working through all of that, and we'll continue to assess it, so no one specifically at this time. But again, as the roster continues to come together, it's a very fluid situation, but there are some.
Sean, what did you learn the most about doing it on the fly at Kent State? And then what did you bring from Colorado in terms of that experience, notably with a mass in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, so I think from Kent State, we learned how to adapt very, very fluidly. That was actually the first year of the early signing period, and so it was new to everyone at that moment in time, and we had to learn how to be great evaluators as a staff and adapt quickly and on the fly because we were learning about the university, we were learning about the new process, we were learning about who was available, who wasn't. So again, just those life experiences set us up to have success here so that we could divide and conquer. Hey, coach, you go talk to admissions, you talk to compliance, so that we could get some systems and procedures in place that weren't there the first time through with Kent State. And then because of the way that, you know, we were able to attack the portal specifically at Colorado, we were able to figure out really quickly, okay, what's going to be a good use of our time and our energy and our attention relative to who's in, what they're, you know, where they're going to fall, what their level's going to be, and what's the gettability factor so that we can know, all right, hey, we have a limited window of time, so let's not waste our time and know through that process of what's real, what's not, and let's go attack the guys that we know we can reel in.
The Aztecs have a brand, what Brady and Rocky did for 15 years.
Yep.
Your resume, throw it all over the field. Has that made it easier to get into places at such a late date, starting from where you're starting with this square, based on the brand and what you've accomplished?
Yeah, I think the culmination of, again, the fine tradition that we have here and the way that we're going to revamp and modernize what we're doing, I think that's a very lethal 1-2 punch that, again, especially kids in Southern California and people from Southern California, even if they went far and wide, that's now very enticing to them. And again, we need to continue to sell and tell our story and really let everyone know, you know, what we're about, again, through utilizing all the tools, social media and all that's available to us, and building the relationships here within the community so that the high school coaches know, you know, that this is a spot where their kids should go.
Your signing class will be around 24 guys. How many of those do you think will be here for spring football?
So we have right now 23 mid-year spots available. And so we're going to get as close to that number as possible so that when we sit in that first team meeting on January 16th, they'll, you know, we'll work to be at that number if they're the right guys right now for us.
Switching to a four-man front defense, that probably opened up a defensive end or an edge rusher position that the prior staff hadn't recruited. Where do you think you are with the guys you have coming in there, and maybe a spot that you look to even further expand?
Yeah, I feel good about some of the guys that are currently on the roster, that even though it was a 3-3-5, they played that role in that 5 technique and are going to be able to play that role for us in the 4-2-5. There's some guys that might kick down from the second level to, play that role as well for us. Again, we're able to generate some good interest, and Ryan Gaea from coming in from Stockton and getting him flipped from Nevada and keeping him home is a guy that obviously, with this change, that became, enticing to him. And again, there's more that are on the line that we're, again, trying to reel in as we move through all this that can really help us, immediately as we move forward.
Obviously you talk about the coaching staff, your coaching staff, and the part they played in recruiting, getting these guys. But, some of the guys we talked to spoke about the returning players that helped pitch them. AJ Duffy has a relationship with Josh Hunter going back to his Temecula days. What can you say about those returning players who may be unsure of where they stand with the new staff, but are still out, pitching San Diego State to new people?
Yeah, none of them should be unsure about where they stand, because that's what the first 3 days on the job were. I didn't leave the building here, and I met with each and every single one of them individually so that they knew that I wanted them to be here, and that, again, I chose them. They didn't choose me, and that we wanted to develop them, and we wanted them to be a part of where we're going. So I think, again, starting inside out, right? We've talked a lot about how we're going to recruit Southern California, and we're going to keep our hometown heroes home. Before I stepped foot anywhere outside of this building, I took care of this building. I took care of the players that were here to start building those relationships so that there could be trust, so that when we got kids to campus, they could feel confident about sharing the vision, sharing the excitement, and knowing that it was real, knowing that it was authentic. And again, regardless of the staff members, the players are always going to be the number one recruiters, right? That's the great thing about these official visits and this time of year. Whenever we can get kids to campus for an extended period of time, the prospects get to go with our guys and truly experience how great life is here, and they get to learn about the program from inside out, and they're the best recruiters that we have, and they always will be.
What are the priorities now over the next 3 weeks leading up to the start of school?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is to continue to solidify the offense and defensive lines, and when it comes to the roster management piece, to make sure everyone's is finishing up their finals in the semester the right way. There's still a few guys that are buttoning up some things there, right? So everyone's academically eligible. In the immediate short term for me, it's handling bedtime the right way with my 7-year-old and 3-year-old tonight, who I haven't seen in 18 days, so I'm excited about that. But again, just putting the processes in place, getting our calendar refined so that our day-to-day is how it's going to be. So when we come back here and we take off, we're all pointing in the right direction. Everyone knows where we're headed.
Do you have a spring football calendar yet?
Yeah, so we're going to start on March 12th. Will be our first practice, and we're looking to target the weekend of April 19th, if I'm not mistaken, for a spring game.
Coach, could you talk a little bit about Sean Polk? And
Yeah.
your connection with him back at Kent State, and just having somebody who's familiar with your offense maybe potentially help with the learning curve of teaching to the youth?
Yeah, I think whenever you have, again, that base knowledge, base understanding, it's going to help, him obviously pick it up a little bit quicker. There's some things that we have changed in the past year and some things that we're going to change from the different ideas that we're bringing in. So there'll be some uptake for him. But again, just knowing who Jay Sean is, his daily disciplines, he brings an elite skill set with his speed. I mean, to win the 400-meter dash when you're a senior in Georgia, I mean, you got to be rolling, right? And again, we've gone through some great shared experiences together. We've been in the foxhole, so to speak, together and have done great things. And so, again, I think as we move forward, whether it's Jay Sean Polk, who's been a part of our organization before, big Nate Williams from Akron, who's been a part of Coach Sobel's strength and conditioning program before, those guys knowing that, okay, this process and the daily disciplines and the standards and the expectation that we're going to lay out on January 16th, those guys know that there's proof in the pudding. Like, the other guys are going to have faith, right? And they're going to have to take that leap of faith. And for them, it's kind of belief without evidence in their own shared experiences, right? But guys that we have done great work with, they know that there's proof of concept to it, and they trust it. And again, they'll be force multipliers for us in the locker room to say, hey, this works, right? Like, drinking a gallon of water every single day, no matter who you are, works because of our style of play. And if you don't embrace the lifestyle changes that need to happen, we're going to get to spring ball. And when we try and run 40-plus plays in a 15-minute skelly period and you're cramping up, coach is going to tell you, hey, cramps don't live here. You got to hydrate better, and we're going to keep rolling. Like, that's just the nature of what it is, you know, and they know that. And then they're going to understand the competitive advantage that brings to us on Saturdays in the fall.
Sean, is the door open for any of the transfer portal guys to maybe come back if they don't see what they want up there, or is the door closed?
We've had those conversations, and we're not going to be anyone's fallback plan. I want guys that want to be at San Diego State, and so everyone who came in and had a conversation, we talked through everything, decisions have been made, and we're going to keep pushing forward with the guys who want to be here.